The unwanted proposal, the soft drizzle of rain, tapped against the old window of the small soul apartment. 18-year-old Y/N sat on the edge of her narrow bed, her hands trembling as she stared at the letter in her grasp. A letter that would change everything. The ink was dark and expensive, the handwriting precise, almost cruel in its perfection. At the bottom of the page, written in elegant strokes, was the name she had heard whispered with both fear and awe. Park Jimin. He wasn't just a man. He was a myth in the underworld. A name that could silence entire rooms, make rival gangs surrender without a fight, and make the police pretend they didn't see. People called him many things: the devil in a suit, the Black Rose of Busan, and worst of all, the Perverted King. They said he smiled when people begged. They said he had the kind of beauty that could seduce you and the kind of cruelty that could destroy you in the same breath. And now, that man wanted her. Y/N's father stood by the doorway, his face pale and drained. His business had fallen apart months ago, and debt collectors had been coming every week. When he'd finally gone to the mafia for help, he had signed a contract with the devil himself. The price of his freedom was his daughter's hand in marriage. Y/N, his voice cracked. You have to do this. If you don't, they'll kill us. They'll take everything. Her throat felt dry. Dad, I can't. He's not even human. You've heard what people say about him. Her father closed his eyes, ashamed. I know, but he made it clear. It's either you or all of us. Tears blurred her vision. It wasn't fair. She had just graduated high school. Her dreams were simple: to study art, to live freely, to paint the world as she saw it. Not to marry a man who could buy and sell lives like property. But fate didn't care about dreams. That night, a fleet of black cars arrived in front of the small building. The rain had stopped, replaced by the deep hum of engines and the sharp sound of polished shoes hitting wet concrete. Men in black suits stepped out, each one carrying the same cold expression. And then, through the curtain of darkness, came Park Jimin himself. He was breathtaking in a terrifying way. His black suit fit like it had been sewn onto his skin. His hair, slightly tousled, glistened under the dim streetlights. His lips curved in a faint smirk, the kind that said he already owned everything he wanted. Y/N froze when his eyes met hers. They were dark, unreadable, and strangely magnetic. There was no warmth there, only power. So this is her, Jimin said, his voice smooth and low, almost teasing. The little debt my empire has been waiting for. Y/N's hands clenched at her sides. I'm not a debt. I'm a person. For a second, his smirk widened, impressed. A fiery one. I like that. He stepped closer, so close she could smell the faint trace of expensive cologne. Sharp, woody, dangerous. You'll learn, Mrs. Park. You'll learn that in my world, everything has a price, even your defiance. Without another word, he turned and walked toward the car, his men following. Bring her, he said over his shoulder, as if commanding the rain to fall. And just like that, Y/N's old life ended. The mansion was like a different universe. It sat on the edge of the city, hidden behind tall iron gates and guarded by men who looked like soldiers. Crystal chandeliers glimmered above marble floors. Every corner smelled of wealth and control. But beneath the beauty was something colder, the sense that nothing here was free. Jimin's personal assistant, Min Yoongi, greeted her with an indifferent nod. Mr. Park will see you after dinner. You are to stay in the East Wing until he calls for you. Don't wander. Don't talk to anyone unless spoken to. Y/N swallowed hard. And if I refuse? Yoongi glanced at her, unimpressed. You won't. Not if you want to live. Hours later, when she was brought to the grand dining hall, Jimin sat at the far end of a long table, a glass of red wine in his hand. The way he looked at her made her feel exposed, like he could see every thought she was trying to hide. You're nervous, he said softly. That's good. Fear keeps people alive. I'm not afraid of you, she lied. Jimin chuckled, the sound dark and amused. Then you should be. He stood, walked toward her, and stopped only inches away. Do you know why I chose you? She shook her head. Because you're innocent, pure. untouched by my world. And that's exactly what I wanted. Something real, something uncorrupted to ruin with my hands. Y/N's breath hitched. You're sick. He smiled faintly. Maybe, but you'll still wear my ring tomorrow. That night she couldn't sleep. Every creak of the mansion made her flinch. Every shadow seemed alive. She sat by the window, staring out at the city lights she might never see freely again. Somewhere down the hall, she heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. The door opened without a knock. Jimin entered, his shirt unbuttoned at the top, his hair slightly damp as if he had just showered. I couldn't sleep, he said, his tone too casual. Thought I'd see how my bride is adjusting. Y/N stood up immediately. You shouldn't be here, he smirked. It's my house, my rules. When he stepped closer, she backed away until her back hit the wall. His hand brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch surprisingly gentle. You're trembling, he whispered. Do you know what that does to me? She pushed his hand away, eyes wide. Don't touch me. His gaze darkened, not angry, but intrigued. You'll have to get used to it, love. After tomorrow, you'll belong to me. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. And I always take care of what's mine. Then, just as suddenly, he stepped back. Sleep well, Mrs. Park-to-be. When the door closed behind him, Y/N sank to the floor, her heart pounding. Tomorrow, she would marry the man everyone feared. Tomorrow, her name would be tied forever to the perverted mafia king, and she had no escape.